Welcome to Popcorn Planet Live. I am Andy Signor. We're here with you every morning or afternoon, depending on where in the world you're watching us, around noon Eastern Standard Time, Florida time. I'm so happy to be here because we have a very special guest to answer your questions, to hang for a little bit of the show. So honored to have this guy. He is amazing service to here in this state of Florida. Has served for 25 years in law enforcement. Let's just meet the man. John Hubbard is here. John, thank you so much for being here, John.
Thank you.
You have had 25 years on the force. 10 years as a detective, 8 years as a sergeant, and you were deputy of the year for 5 years through your service and work in the Tampa Bay regions, in Pinellas County to be exact, which is where Fort DeSoto is, guys. So honored to have you here, sir. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. We're not worthy for this kind of coverage. My goodness, the generosity, support of this channel is insane. A little bit just sent a huge thank you so much for your support and starting the stream strong. So grateful for your support there a little bit. And I want to use that as to support John here because he's done so much amazing work in this state of Florida. I've asked around people. Yeah, well, you've said it. Some people don't like it because you keep it real. But those who know you do the job. You get it done, and you're an expert in this field. Can you just, so the audience gets to know you a little bit more, help explain a little bit more of your experience for us?
Well, I'm a Florida native, born and raised here, and I did 25 years at Pinellas Sheriff's Office, like you said. I worked 10 years as a detective, and I guess I was a little bit of a workaholic. I specialized in obtaining confessions from bad guys, no matter what crimes that they committed. Did my time there and got out, thankfully, and now I've opened my own PI business 9 years ago, and we are slammed 7 days a week here. It's just fantastic.
Well, awesome. So that's, guys, you're getting real expertise here, a real detective who knows how to investigate and grill the witnesses. Now, to be clear, John does not work on the Gabby Petito case. It's not on the quest for Brian Laundrie. I want to make sure we put that disclaimer right out the gate. We are just merely using his years of detective experience to sort of help us potentially, answer some more questions that maybe we don't understand. And also, I know John also wants to be careful of not answering too many specifics to help Brian evade the authorities. So there may be some topics as we speak to him that he may not feel comfortable to ask. So I've already told him, just let us know. But yeah, you said you prefer frankness over flattery is still a comment you told me that I appreciate. Can you explain why to the audience?
Well, I think people need to hear the truth more than sugarcoating. And so if you're looking for somebody that's going to make it sound good and juicy, I'm probably not the guy that you need to call. But if you want the facts, that's me. And so like I tell even attorneys and new clients, I tell them, I won't lie to you, and I won't lie for you. So that's kind of what you're going to get with me, a no nonsense guy. I like dealing with the facts. You're going to convince me with real facts, things that I can bring into court and prove, not what somebody thinks or some conspiracy theorist. I'm not the guy for that.
Well, that's what I want here. I want facts, and as we're here, the way the show works is we react live to what's happening in the news regarding this case and a lot of other stories as well. But this story has obviously wrapped the nation. I'm getting reports in the chat that there's a presence in the reserve. If someone can send me that link, if anything is breaking while we're live, by all means, please forward me that information so we can pivot and talk about it here with John. However, if you want to ask John any questions, I put the pin link in there so we can make sure we see your questions. If you have any particular case, questions, even if it's about the case that you think his detective experience might be able to offer some perspective on, please send it on over and we'll ask John. I got some questions of myself, and I want to break down today's news because John did watch that neighbor testimony. Could Brian Laundrie have been hiding in the house? In fact, let's start there, John, because I'm going to look to see if there is police presence there. We'll give you all the current updates as what's happening, so you don't have to switch around. We zip around for you and cover everything while we're live. But I want to start there. You watch this footage. In fact, I have it right here. This neighbor gave testimony. And when I saw this testimony, I bought it. I'll be honest. I feel like, look, this isn't proof. This isn't facts, as you said. But it just seems weird. Why would they? What other bald guys running out from the back door around the same time? Now, these neighbors just could be frustrated with all these people and just starting to spread out shit just to annoy everybody. Who knows? But you watch this interview. If you want to watch the interview, you can go watch my last video. We put it all out there. What was your take to this neighbor's story, sort of, which says, we saw Brian on the 17th running outside the back of the house. What was your take on this?
Again, you're asking me my opinion.
Opinions.
Okay? So you'd have to have some very concrete stuff, and that alleged video surveillance would have to be pretty clear video. I'll say something about video cameras in general. We have a lot of bank robberies that occur, and you expect that the banks, are going to give us video surveillance of the bank robber when they come into the banks. And I'll just tell you, they're the biggest victims, if you will, for robbery, yet they have the worst quality cameras across the board, in my opinion. And so when you're talking about home surveillance, and not saying that they don't have good cameras out there, but I'd have to see this footage. But again, just my opinion is I doubt that they saw Brian Laundrie. I think that he was already gone. And I think he already eluded police prior to that. And, sometimes people see things that they want to see, and same things in relationships. Sometimes, you feel and you see what you want to see and feel. So it's not always maybe what somebody from a third party is going to look, being objective, and let me see the video, and let's see if that really looks like Brian Laundrie. It just doesn't make, it sounds good. And I'm not saying that it's outside of the realm of possibility, but from a detective's point of view, it doesn't make sense.
Does it make sense that he would still be in that house?
Correct. I think he was already gone.
So what's interesting is, and I want to get your thought on this too, because the other thing that's sort of part of the reason, I think you can see what I'm showing on my screen, John. Make sure, let me know if you can't. But the Laundrie's attorney, again, we're speculating. I'm going to say it a lot through the show. Chat, remind everybody in the chat for me. John's not working this case. John doesn't know this case. He's merely speculating and giving you an opinion based on his 25 years of experience. But when we see this coming in, that the lawyer is now saying, well, actually, looks like we were wrong. Brian left for the hike on Monday, not Tuesday, like the parents said. The Laundries were basing the date Brian left on their recollection of certain events. Upon further communication with the FBI and confirmation of the Mustang being at the Laundrie residence on Wednesday, September 15th, we now believe the day Brian left to hike in the preserve was Monday, September 13th. Now, this reads really weird to me. Now, is this common for parents who are missing their child, who's now the fiance is missing as well? So many questions. The parents have been trying to track down the Laundries, right? They're trying to find information. And then suddenly you're just living your day, norm to norm. Like, oh, no big deal. Child goes missing and you can't remember the day they left. Is that common, or is this a red flag to you as a detective?
It's a red flag. And the fact that they got an attorney, if you're innocent, what are you hiring an attorney for to do your speaking? Everybody sees it for what it is. That's why this case is blown up across the nation and actually worldwide. I got an email last night from Costa Rica, on this case. So, yeah, it's global. So what do you? Yeah. Is there any? So you're just confirming your experience, like the Laundries, and that's why I titled this. There's a lot going on. You don't believe that witness is there, but the fact that the Laundries just dates and themselves are changing, this is not a good sign. The Laundries are clearly in trouble. We've talked about this in a previous video. The Laundries are clear people of interest, but the FBI are clearly being patient to make sure that they can get all these Laundries, the Brian and the parents, correctly. That's really your take on all this. Brian is the focus, and he is the most important thing to apprehend right now, not the parents. The parents aren't out murdering people, but Brian is another deal. He most likely did, and he may continue to commit more crimes, because what has he got to lose? If he gets caught, he's going to lose his life anyway. So this is a very dangerous subject to come in contact with right now. That's another question I have. The mindset of a guy like this on the run. You've been on the quest for similar guys that have gone missing and found them. What is a mindset typically? I know it changes person to person, but can you give us any insight on sort of what that's like? It depends. He's 23, and you already saw some of the body cam footage of a DV incident, with him. Law enforcement didn't apparently scare him a bit, because she was alive on that day, and shortly thereafter, she's no longer alive, and he's the person of interest, and he must feel that there must be something to it, because, he has fled, and he doesn't want to be caught and talked to or apprehended. I think, to me, it's pretty obvious, in my opinion. Again, I'm not working the case. I don't have, what the FBI has, or Northport Police, or Moab, or any of that, but it just appears, if it's got feathers and webbed feet and a beak on it and it's quacking, It's probably a duck.
Funny you say that. There's footage of him walking like a duck during he literally waddles like a duck, and that's another thing. People are like, his walking pattern, something to keep in mind. What do you? And I'm going around to make sure I'm missing any other information. What do you suggest we look for actually? Because everyone's losing it on every bald guy we see. Including the neighbors. Everyone's going and saying every bald guy is Brian Laundrie. I've gotten a few emails of people who are like, I think it's Brian. And I've looked. I'm like, come on, that's not Brian Laundrie. But what should we be looking for?
It's funny you say that because I considered, without telling you, just bringing in 4 or 5 disguises that I use all the time. And, I can change my appearance, very quickly. And if you think he hasn't, I don't think he's walking around bald at all. He's probably already growing his hair, growing a beard, wearing a hat, wearing sunglasses, wearing a mask. Guys like this are loving the mask rules right now. He wants to have a mask on. So like if I'm going to go into a place and I don't want anybody to detect me, I wear a mask, sunglasses. I totally change my disguise. I can wear, clear. I don't wear glasses typically ever, but I will wear them to disguise my appearance. And you can wear wigs, hats, you name it. It's so easy to do. And if he's hiking in the woods at all, you can wear those bandanas and face things. I mean, somebody that thinks that they see him, I mean, it's going to be pretty tough. I think they're going to be better off when he might take, some remote place hostage, some cabin maybe way out in the woods that he can stay at, that there's no cell activity. I doubt he has a satellite texting device, which I have. People could have it, but I doubt he has something like that because the FBI would be able to intercept any of his transmissions.
Well, that was because we asked about burner phones and things. Like he doesn't seem to be that equipped to be able to actually not be traced. The best way is just to not be on any digital devices, correct?
It is, but you can get it. It's like, he could go out to Wyoming today and go into Walmart and pick up another burner phone.
Right.
But the problem is if he reaches out and tries to contact any of his family members, if you don't think the FBI already has traces on that, you're sadly mistaken. I mean, he's not that stupid.
So
I don't think he is.
How stupid he is? He's pretty stupid, though, isn't he?
Well,
I mean, how from your recollection of what you've seen, how smart is this man based on some of your profiling, limited profiling of him?
I mean, you're right. I mean, because look, he's 23 years old and he's already gotten this far ahead of the FBI by at least 2 weeks already. So,
So how dumb does that make him?
Well, not very dumb in my opinion. I don't think he's a dumb guy at all. I don't agree with the things that he's done. He committed, some DV on his fiance, and and then, I'm not going to say she's disappeared. We found her now, and at least according to the initial reports, she was murdered. Okay, so where is he? You don't want to answer for that. So that side of him, I don't approve of what he's done. But you have to look back and say, was people like Ted Bundy dumb? No, he was a smart man, but he got caught and he was doing things that were illegal, and reprehensibly. And I think the same thing for Brian. I don't think he's going to have very many followers that are, supporting Brian Laundrie or his parents.
I just also, Chad, I'm looking for this WFLA. They're saying there's police presence. Please DM me or send me. I keep going on a wild goose chase, but I've checked their live feed. I've checked their Twitter. I don't see it. If somebody has a link to that, please let me know because I want to get your thoughts on sort of why do you think we spent so much time in the reserve? Is I guess the next question I want to get to. Do you because they've so many resources were spent there combing through those swamps, which just feels as a Florida person himself. Brian's not there. That doesn't make any sense to me. Do you think he could be there? What is your rationale for why they're putting so many resources into the reserve?
You're asking me, right?
Yeah.
Because I believe that's where the family said that he went. So law enforcement has to take that, on its face value that maybe he did, it did not. They have to at least, they have to vet that out. It doesn't make sense. I don't believe he ever went there myself, but that doesn't mean, but if I'm the chief of police down there and that's what the family's telling us you have to go and give it your best shot and find out if he is there or not. I mean, how would it look to a jury down the road, a year or two from now and they go, well, parents said he was, he went over there and we didn't even go look, They have to do that. They have to at least go and look in the swamp. And I think they've done a very thorough job. I mean, the technology today, you can't hardly hide in there anywhere without that FLIR system that's on the helicopters picking up your body heat.
Right.
You can stay under the water for so long, but even if you're under the water, your body temperature is still close to 100 degrees. That thing's going to pick you right up. You're going to glow very easily, and you're going to be different than the alligators.
So they can tell the different body heat. They know that. So it's not like he can. And there's no predator trick to those things. I mean, they would be able to go over that reserve to find him. So they're probably looking more for something, weapon.
They went over it many times. They had dogs, helicopters. They had it all. And again, this is just my opinion. I believe the parents told that to law enforcement just to get all their resources redirected over there and buy more time for Brian to keep hoofing it away from here.
I mean, that's most likely. It gives. And how does a department avoid that? Could they have avoided that? Do you think the department is just once a lead like that comes in from the parents, they have to go put the resources there?
How they could have avoided it is not allow him to get out of their surveillance to begin with. But here we are. So no, I don't think they really can. They have to give it their best shot.
So if they're given a tip by the parents, even if they suspect the parents are in on it or guilty, they still got to put those resources on that reserve.
I believe they do. I believe so. It's just like, the defense attorney is probably going to try to come up with some other person that could have done this. And if they do, it's just about checking people's alibis. And you have to prove that somebody else didn't do it as well.
Interesting.
So when people give us these stories, even if that's total BS, you still go and check it just to prove, here's another story that the Laundries gave us that turned out to be a lie, ladies and gentlemen. And here's another one. Oh, and by the way, and the attorney, he's never going to be sitting on the witness stand. He's not somebody that's going to provide witness testimony. So they can say anything they want. The attorneys can make up any story they want and give it to you, and they're never held accountable for it.
So we're looking at footage, and now they finally have gone live. They were teasing this. We're seeing footage of police activity. This is allegedly at the Carlton Reserve again.
Okay.
Now it's so many days later. Again, from your expertise of sort of how these searches go, what do you think? What is this? Do you think they have a new tip? They're just combing through whatever. Why would they be there still so much later?
Well, I mean,
they're by the cars. They're kind of just out here. Not a lot of other activity other than car activity and people out here. But again, there's a Northport police vehicle. You see,
it could be something as simple as they found his shirt. They could, with his DA, and they got to match up the DA. It could be something that simple. I tell you, if they think they had a spotting of him, there'd be a lot more cars than that there.
So
you wouldn't be able to get out of there with a needle.
Oh, and this is why I love John's expertise in this, because we're actually getting real insight. I mean, because my other question was going to be,
there's not enough people there to find him.
Well, yeah, not only that, but why is the Northport police there? What are they still involved in this?
I'm sure they are. I mean, that's where the Laundries live, right?
They're trying to save their ass and do what they can. I mean, but I don't see the FBI there, right? This is just police.
You don't know if they're there or not. You can't tell by looking at a car if that's the FBI's or not. They drive regular cars like you and I. You have no idea what they're driving.
Now, can the FBI now I want to get more of the politics of how this works. Can the FBI instruct the Northport police to do things? How does that work in a chain of command? So if they're all right, keep Northport, go check this swamp and keep checking the swamp, almost like they're pissing them, have fun. Is that?
They are. It does work as a team. Okay. No matter where they're from, it doesn't matter if they're from the smallest department to the biggest, it doesn't matter. So there's going to be somebody that's going to be organizing all the players. So the cops that are there, most of them will feel like it's an equal plateau, that everybody is deputized the same, if you will. They're working under the authority right now of the FBI. This is their case. The FBI owns this. They're ultimately in charge. And so every cop from every agency there, they're just there to help in any way they can. Everybody wants to solve this case. Nobody's going in there and say, well, I'm from Northport, so we got to find this guy. Or, I'm from the sheriff's office. No, it's not like that at all. All the cops are working together as a big brotherhood, if you will.
Right. I mean, this reserve, as we're zooming out and seeing it, this reserve is insanely huge.
Not a lot of activity other than the vehicles.
And there's a handful of cops there.
Here.
or seemingly.
That tells me, that would just tell me, if I'm just guessing, they found something that they believe belongs to Brian. He could have dropped supplies. He could have dropped a shirt. He could have dropped anything, and they found it. Well, they're going to make a big crime scene out of it, and they're going to process it for DNA, and they're going to know whether it belonged to him or not.
Gotcha. And so that's common. Throw in these vans,
Very
keep it
common.
minor. This amount of crew would be sort of what we would see if some evidence was, again, allegedly.
Everybody wants to say I helped.
Right.
But that's not enough people at all to try and catch somebody they spotted in the woods. They spotted him in the woods, there'd be 100 cars there, and nothing flat.
Well, interesting. I love that insight because that makes sense to me. So there's enough here for something. There's enough presence here to say something is there, but not Brian is there. And
correct.
again,
Unless, even if he was dead, there'd be more cars there. If they found his body, there'd be more cars there.
Interesting. And so, but this is similar. And this looks like some sort of testing van or something. But yeah, this.
I'm sure it is. It's a crime scene van. I'm sure that looks pretty sophisticated. It's either going to have to be a large agency like Pinellas or Hillsborough Sheriff's Office, or the FBI or FDLE could be involved in that. But I doubt that van belongs to Northport.
And again, I want to keep putting the disclaimer, and thanks everybody's in there. We are live, yeah, and this is live from FLA. And I just want to thank John because this commentary just is such next level because we're not just reporters speculating. I got an expert here who can sort of give us some insight, but I do want to disclaim he's not part of this case.
No,
but he's
and if
at
I had to
25
guess,
years.
I would say those 3 SUVs right there are the FBI's.
So that's just another. I love getting this insight. So exactly, when you see the unmarked cars, you see the cop cars. Obviously, you see these testing units. Are these types of vans also potentially FBI? Who mans the tests? Usually,
right. So it depends on who's got the technology and the ability to do it. So it'd be a large. And I don't think Northport has that kind of, those resources to have that sort of thing. So in this case, as big as it is, I would have to think that those belong to the FBI. They could belong to FDLE, or some. If it was a sheriff's office, they'd probably have their logo on the side of it. So the fact that it's unmarked tends to make me think that the FBI owns those.
Anonymous, thank you for sending over. And guys, if you want to send over your questions, I will pause through and we'll get John's questions on this. So I'll keep some of this footage on as we're live, just because there is, as John suspects, again, he can only suspect, and there's enough of a presence there that there's potentially found something as we're live, but not enough presence to think that we see Brian or a body. So interesting insight as we get it from retired detective Hubbard and private investigator. Again, for those just joining, he's been in the force here in Florida for 25 years, so many years of experience, 10 years as a detective, 8 years as a sergeant, and now working as a private investigator. I'm grateful to have his expertise here because he's opening my eyes a lot as well. But if you have a question for him, now's your chance. So please send it on over. Anonymous just asked, I've lived in Northport all my life, and there are multiple locations that are heavily wooded areas. Lady, Slipper, Yorkshire, all within travel by foot from the parents' home. Our town is mostly woods. They should be looking, if not already, in those areas. Yeah, I mean, so John, in a case like this, when you're looking and he's on foot, suspectedly, how do you figure out which wooded areas to go to? Florida's got a lot of wooded areas. Is it based off of tips typically? Like, what do you think is the rationale to decide where they look?
Well, so there's a couple of different ways. One is obviously tips of what people say and where he might have went and whatnot. But then there's another side that none of us are ever going to be privy to. The FBI has already gotten the search warrant executed on that house. And, I'm sure that they've imaged, like I said before, all the electronic devices, the computers and cell phones that were there. And they have got a great idea of what the plan was. For them to be, I believe they know what Brian's plan was when he left and where he headed. Now, what he has done since then, I don't know. But it's impossible to say, you know what? Well, there's a lot of woods in Florida. Well, we should check them all. Okay, well, if there's something there to check, I'm sure they will. And you see a plane flying over right now. I see on your screen, but
that's a drone, isn't it? Isn't that a drone?
Well, I own some drones, and it could be.
Looks like a fancy drone trying to go. I can't tell either because they were just talking about drones.
Use drones like this for mapping
and
other things like that. But
So,
we're kind of watching
and I'm
it
sure
fly,
your
but
caller,
it's well below us. And so that's what they're doing. And again, they fly over areas, and it really can't stop and hover, as far as I know. Now, I've
So that's
never
a mapping
flown one of
drone.
these.
Yeah,
I do have my
actually,
drone
they can hover.
that I can fly drones.
I have 3 of
do
them.
fly drones.
Well,
I
this
can
looks like
hover
well, I guess this is there. He's calling. I don't know. I'm not to say you're wrong. I'm just. He's calling
This
this a
particular
flight drone or mapping
it might,
drone.
right. It could be just a mapping drone itself. That's a very expensive software, but it's amazing what they will get from that drone footage right there.
Right.
And it's a lot better than what we're getting right here from this drone or
right. I imagine that's every year that's getting more and more advanced. Where they, like you said, they're pulling up all the ultraviolet everything, so they can just get a quick map and a read to know where to send the cops to go look at the next spot.
Now, do you see that they're already moving on their way? So what's that tell you? They've already collected whatever it was that they came for, and it was not a person.
Interesting. All right. Well, there you go. I can't imagine how expensive that drone is. That's not a one you get at Best Buy. Well, there you go. Interesting. There's still some there, but yeah, the testing van has left. So I love getting this insights. Now we know how to look at these crime scenes more accurately when we see the presence there. Little Bit says, how long will they keep this search up? Will they keep going until he's found? I mean,
it really depends. I can't answer that. How long they'll do it, because resources. But the problem is, you got the FBI's resources, and they have a lot more than the locals. So all the locals that are out there, they're getting reimbursed for their time by the feds. That's who's paying for all that.
So we're paying for it with our taxes.
You're absolutely right.
Yep. All of us are paying for Brian Laundrie's search. So if you don't like this coverage, well, you're not going to like knowing that we're paying for it. Even
when they send us on goose chases, we're paying for that too, even if they know it.
Well, that's wild. Heather from UK, if that was him in the van, when I strongly feel it was based on the sincerity of the witness, we're talking about now going back to the neighbor, what the truck driver said about having a fight with his girlfriend and to get her, I think he's trying to get back, to where he killed her. I mean, that's some massive speculation, Heather. I don't know. I don't even think there was him in a van. He was in a truck. There was a witness that saw it. I don't think John's going to buy that witness at all. John, when we get these calls of someone, I saw a bald guy, and then I looked at my phone and I was sure it was Brian. I mean, like those are hard.
Okay, then I could say in a quick deal that this photo you have shown here of the Eagle 8 guy,
he's Brian.
Could have been him. Could have been him.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
It's so hard.
It's tough. But I will say this about the deal from the Appalachian Trail and the white pickup truck that he was allegedly seen in.
Yes.
I mean, if in fact that was a legitimate caller and he wasn't making it up, and if he ran into somebody that had that story, about his girlfriend, he's trying to find her. I tell you what, that's pretty incriminating, and it seems believable to me that's a tip that I would put a little bit more extra resources on, as opposed to, hey, look, I'm not even involved in this case, and people are sending me tips. I got nothing to do with this. I'm not trying to define the guy. I'm not involved in it. But I'll tell you, if I were, and I got the tip like that guy from the Appalachian Trail, with what he said and how he said it, and the guy was lost and yada yada, I would put some resources over there real quickly and try to find that truck. Even if I could just find out who it was, just so I can check him off and say, guess what? He wasn't involved. We found it. But they say they never found it. So either it never existed or he already eluded them and yada, yada. So, that's going to be, that's a question mark over there. But again, it did have more credibility to what he said he saw, as opposed to a lot of these other tips that, oh yeah, I know I saw him. I was out running and hiking, and I know I saw him. Okay, well.
Right. So but you would give that one a little bit more weight, is what you're saying.
I would have, and I would have expended some good resources to try and locate that truck to find out who that person was that he thinks is Brian Laundrie.
Interesting.
I definitely would have done that.
And the FBI can sort of divvy out sort of the jobs to other police departments in other states to say, hey, we got a good tip here. Can you send us cars out to go see that?
They have good resources, but they don't have very much manpower, the FBI. They have to rely on local law enforcement. They have to do that.
And so the local law enforcement has to do what they ask them to do from a chain of command perspective.
Yeah, I believe they do. Yes. And they all are on the same page. All the cops want to catch him. I don't believe anybody here is trying to be Wyatt Earp and do it by themselves. It's a concerted effort. And when and if this guy is ever found, it's going to be a team effort. It's not going to be some one cop that was out eating, a sandwich at lunchtime and, single-handedly takes Brian down.
I believe that, but also the Northport police, to me, have bumbled this like crazy. I mean, and you've admitted it, because they weren't keeping eyes on Brian. Like we've had an interview with John earlier where we talked about that, and John was pretty critical on the fact that, yeah, they could have had resources to put a car to keep an eye on Brian, even when Gabby was announced missing.
They should have at least had 12 or 20 people on that. That's not a one-man job. You got to watch him from all sides of that house, and they have other ways of watching that house, and they should have done it, and the vehicles. I mean, it's mind-boggling to think that didn't happen. I just can't even believe it. When this thing came out and said, oh, well, he's not in the home. I was just waiting for the body to be found so we can pick up Mr. Laundrie and we can move forward towards prosecution. But he's gone? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. But so that could be a reason why the Northport police maybe want to go do extra to figure it out, because I mean that is a little bit of like, yes, of course we're a team, but they want to they want to clear up the black eye they have. Correct?
But they're going to help regardless of that. They're going to help anyway. I mean, they're going to do anything and everything they can. They feel like this is as much theirs as anybody else's. They're going to give whatever resources are available that they can, and they're going to put them out there. People are going to be coming in on their days off, the whole 9 yards.
All right. Well, so we're watching this footage. Just guys who were tuning in new, the reserve here. There is a presence here, but John, again, 25 years in Florida, his experience on the service, has been a detective for 10 years, 8 years as a sergeant. Now he's a private investigator, and he's been offering his opinions on the case. He does not work this case, but judging by the amount of vans and stuff that we're seeing there, he suspects. Again, we're suspecting that might have been some sort of evidence that they pulled to do some DNA testing on. And that's what the update we have on what we suspect is happening there. They did fly over a mapping drone, which we learned about as well, which can send a map, seemingly super amounts of data and information that they can get pretty quickly to purview that whole area that they're checking to make sure there's nothing else there.
Those are fresh photos. I mean, it'll find deer that are standing out there and everything else. That's some pretty good. Those drones and their mapping stuff is incredible.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I'm sure there's more than we can know right now, and I'm sure it changes every day. But that technology, massively impressive. And so this team is still out there looking. They're looking like they're stopping in another area now.
They look like they're stopped over a bridge. So if Brian, that's a big if. Did he ever even go there? I mean, whatever. I was just thinking maybe some type of a murder weapon, but I doubt that. I don't think that he used a firearm of any sort. He probably, I'm just, again, surmising and guessing from what was out there and available, that it's pretty easy to bludgeon somebody to death, with a rock, a big boulder out there,
Right. Sticks, boulders, or something.
We don't know how she was killed, but so I doubt they're looking for murder. But they got to be looking for things that would prove that Brian was even here. They're going to need to find something with his DNA on it.
Well, I guess that's what's confusing to me, and that's why I wanted your insight. You've sort of said it, but they're still there. Like the fact that they're still there, still checking these areas and still finding stuff to do a DNA. I mean, does that scream to you that there's clearly something?
Well, something. Yeah, I mean,
it's not a wild goose chase then by the parents, because we're speculating that too. Could it be both?
Here's the deal. Sometimes people will be out hiking and they'll call us up and say, we found some human remains, and we'll get out there and it's so decayed already, and unfortunately, and you guys have seen it, it's not any secret from me, but an archaeologist will take a bone and say, oh yeah, this came from, this Tyrannosaurus, whatever. And it turns out, it was from the neighbor's cow, so there's nothing going to be decayed enough. But my point to that is a hiker could have been out there, a guy on his airboat or anything else, and found something of interest. Don't mess with it. Call law enforcement, let the experts come out, find out, is it related to this case at all? Or, because people are slobs in nature and they're litter bugs, people just drive down the road and throw stuff out. What do you think they do when they're out here and nobody can watch them? They just throw the trash right out. So if they found, even if it was a McDonald's cup, I'm going to get DNA off of that. So
Yeah, I want to also nip something in the bud because I see some people in the chat say it, and it's because of a YouTuber who I've already called out. That I don't want to say his name, but this is that channel that we shall not mention or watch. But the video is Brian Laundrie had a gun. See inside his bedroom. Now, John, as a detective, as a cop, someone who knows guns. This is the image that everyone keeps trying to say, oh, look, he has a gun. It is some sort of American flag painted object on the side of a cabinet. I'm not a gun owner.
Fake gun.
I'm not a gun owner, exactly. But I know gun owners, and my dad's a gun owner. That is not how you store a gun. That is not what a gun looks like. You would never put a working gun on a nail on the side of a cupboard on there. That is clearly a spray painted prop, in my opinion.
Can you offer your display? Look how high it is. That's not even somewhere he can grab if he's asleep and you wake him in the night. Even if it was on the side of the head.
Who has a gun that has spray painted like that? That's a piece of art. That is an American, like, sort of patriotic prop or something. Who knows if it's even a working gun or if it's just a...
They make a lot of fake guns that are replicas to put inside storage and display cases, stuff like that. So if somebody breaks into my office and they see my display case, oh, he's a retired cop, there's a gun, grab it. Well, guess what? You just got yourself a piece of plastic. It's not going to do anything except get you killed because some other cop's going to see you with it, think it's a real gun, and
right, and so I just want to put it out there because I see people. This is another example of misinformation. This proves nothing to you.
This proves nothing.
Yes, this is not a gun in your poor view. This is not something. Now, it doesn't mean that he didn't have one or got one potentially, but I'm with your logic of I don't really see that perspective. I mean that unless they must know something we don't know, but unless there were bullet hole wounds or something, there's no reason to sort of speculate and look for the gun. Then they might be looking for some sort of other weapon and perhaps a knife. There's a lot of camping tools and things you could use, those like Leatherman and stuff if they had one potentially. Who knows? I don't really want to speculate on all that out of respect to the Petitos and Gabby, but this you could help us nip in the bud. This idea that this is proof that he had a gun is not proof to you.
Yeah, where did they get this picture, by the way? Oh, from his...
Apparently, who knows? I don't even trust anything this person says on this channel. But apparently, and then they you can also help me speculate this one too from this terrible video. So they're saying that these are bullet holes because of the way that they spray. Is this how a crime scene would do that? Would they spray paint with these orange? These are alleged bullet holes on the crime scene. Does this seem like it's something?
I mean, it's could have. We never did that. We marked them with cones and triangles and stuff like that. But, I'm not going to sit there and tell you that Northport or somebody else didn't do that. But, it's typical. It's normal to see bullet holes and stuff like that, and even street signs. I mean, how many times you've been traveling and you see a bunch of holes in a stop sign or they are bullet holes. They have nothing to do with the crime. People just out think it's some cute target practice on street signs. And the same thing could have happened there. By the way, she wasn't killed here anyway. Her body was found out west. So
right.
Those holes, if they were bullet holes, they would have absolutely nothing to do with this case, in my opinion.
Right. I just find it odd they would spray paint the evidence. Just doesn't seem like something you would do. But so anyway, those are not. We don't take any of that evidence as facts. That's all speculation that's out there on channels that I don't feel like are being helpful. A couple more questions. Keep them coming, guys. Thank you so much, everybody who is supporting. Let me scroll back. I missed a few as you guys were coming in. I want to get your thoughts. So you did answer the how long. Again, it sort of depends. Aaron wants to ask, if the parents gave this location as a fake out, isn't it possible that they planted whatever kind of evidence has allegedly been found? Like maybe they came to get his car. I mean, anything's possible, but we have no facts to prove that, right, John? Any thoughts on that?
Right. The car situation, I do think was a fabrication and set up by the parents just to direct police somewhere. Your kid doesn't go on a hiking and then you go a day or two later, find the car, and now you're going to take his only means of transportation. And you're not going to call the cops and say, hey, this is where my son was. He was distraught. Can we help find him? No. Oh, they're just going to take the car back home. I mean, I'm sorry. We're on a YouTube. That's bullshit.
You can say it here. I'll allow it.
Yeah. That didn't happen. That's just not true.
Brandy Candy Come. Seen in interviews in the dust have real tears. All the family eyes are dry. Maybe it wasn't Brian and it was the father all along, and Gabby's family helped cover. I mean, come on. I'd
put them over with the conspiracy theorists and let them have their own little party.
Good.
I don't participate.
Not going to participate either, Barbie. Sorry, I don't buy that at all. Blaming Gabby's parents to me is just horrific. There's no evidence of that, and you can go watch that Joseph channel and go enjoy it. Anonymous, doesn't it seem like Brian may have been in his parents' house? So again, let's go back to that. Now that this footage is just same stuff. They're driving around. We suspect they're getting samples. Seemingly is what John suspects. I'll keep checking back on this if anything else breaks or develops. But I want to go back to this question of the neighbor.
All right, so let's retract this. Right there, in back of that house is where Laundrie lives. So you're saying last 2 Fridays ago, when during the protest, the day they reported missing, witnesses are saying Brian ran out of there.
Probably through the woods right here. And he hauled out, and the neighbors right there got it on surveillance.
So
said they thought it was him.
So and so you're saying the police actually asked you about that photograph that's circling. Do you know if
they came back? What was it, Saturday? They came back the next day, and I thought I was in trouble because of the protest. Don't you remember? Like the cop wants to talk to you. Yeah. And
did they go to any other neighbors? You think? Did they go?
Put her inside. They were they asked them, didn't they, Chris? And then the cops went over to Chris.
The cops were walking up and down the street.
So you guys think it was him?
Yeah, definitely. He was here.
I mean, to us, we think it looks like him too.
He was here.
Yeah.
I mean, we think.
He was here Friday, and as soon as it got dark, everybody was so concerned with the protest.
Yeah.
And instead of the cops blocking off this whole subdivision, they only focused on that one street. Well, who else is going to be running down the street that fits his description during, it could have been somebody who's like, oh shit, I want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
But
that happens too.
The cops came and they showed us the picture, and I was like, that's him, dude.
Yeah. And then you're.
So, and then here's the picture. We have this alleged. Apparently, this is the picture of them. This isn't the same area. This was someone apparently took this picture as they left.
That looks older than Brian to me.
This pic was taken about 5 p.m., about a couple blocks behind his parents, moments before the cops arrived, again, allegedly. And hard to tell, not a great photo, but that's sort of what they're like, yep, that could have been him.
I can guarantee you the cops already know who that person is.
So it's either, and if it's Brian, they know it. If it's not Brian, they don't know it. Then they know who that is instead.
Yep.
What's just weird?
Does that look like Brian to you?
It's too hard for me to tell. I mean,
he looks older than Brian to me. Brian's 23 years old. Does that guy look 23? I'm just saying that's just my gut reaction. It doesn't look like him.
I also just don't believe he'd be this bald.
He's not going to be. He's not going to be walking around knowing that they want. He's gone.
He did have glasses and his earbuds. He has a phone too, which is weird. Why would he have earbuds and a phone on the run? He doesn't even have a backpack. If he really was,
he's got long wire. Who's wearing wired earbuds anymore? Old guys.
It's true. I do that too sometimes. I hate the Bluetooths. But if you're going on a long trip and you don't want to keep charging the earbuds as well as the phone, it would make sense. But it's weird. It doesn't have a backpack.
My opinion is that's not Brian.
Yeah, so and again, we don't know if that's the picture they're referring to in that image. This is the one that's sort of going around. So there you go. So John, you're not buying this witness testimony. You need to see the surveillance or make sure. I guess again, we can't confirm this, but we do agree this is a bad look for the Dirty Laundries. The fact that they gave the wrong date as to when their son left.
They've been lying about everything. You shouldn't expect any truth to come out of their mouths. If they speak, it's not going to be truthful.
Well, so that all this brings us back as, do you think he could have been in that house longer than expected and ducked out? Is that a possibility in your mind, or you really still think no, they got him out earlier, whether it was at the campsite or something, to give him more time on the run?
There's no doubt he was gone long before the cops showed up.
So do you think he even walked off to this reserve? Do you think this is all bullshit excuse?
I don't think he walked anywhere. I think they gave him a ride to wherever he was going for his next. He had to get out of that area. He's not going to be on foot. Everybody's looking for that guy. They don't like him. He's committed DVs and now a homicide allegedly, and everybody's looking for him. If you were Brian Laundrie, you're going to be walking around your own neighborhood? Not going to happen. Not going to happen. He was gone. That's my opinion. He was not there. And he might be brazen enough actually to knowing that when he gets caught, that he may give a full. I've interviewed guys that I've chased for a long time, made a lifetime career out of committing crimes, and I will get a 6 to 8 hour interview full of confessions along the way. They just want to. Sometimes they want to see that what you can prove, what you can't prove. They lie, and then you can prove it. What they did differently, then they will admit that. Then you got to go to the next step. You got to go to the next step. And so he may be foolish enough to talk when he gets caught, because a lot of people want to talk their way out of things because they believe that if they didn't do it, they'll talk about it. But if they're guilty, they won't talk. So they want to prove to you they're not guilty. So they're going to talk to you. I love those people.
All right. Well, so we don't. So to answer the question, no. I mean, anything's possible, but John,
not probable.
But yeah, not possible, not probable. There you go. I like that. We should start using that more clearly. Also, the mods are telling me that you guys were going nuts in the chat, saying, no, you guys, Andy, you forgot to mention the photo of Gabby with the GUN. I'm just trying to not say the word over and over again. Yeah, I don't buy it. I don't think she would put it. She just doesn't seem like the type that was that versatile with firearms to me. And for her to like just be putting all over her face, that to me looks like a photo shoot prop thing to me. But go ahead. What do you think?
Let me squash that right away. If in fact, let's just play devil's advocate for a moment. So whoever your caller is saying that she committed suicide. Well, number one, the autopsy would have shown.
I think they're just saying there was a weapon. I think they're trying to prove that there was a weapon.
That does look like a handgun to me. That looks like a handgun to me.
I can't tell. It's so dark. I mean, I have prop guns that look good too. I can't even tell the coloring.
Don't show up with me looking like that and expect me to not have my gun pointed at you.
Yeah. But again,
you know what? We're in America. We have the right to bear arms.
And especially in Florida, you do.
Exactly.
But it just seems weird to hold it like that. I don't know. Personally, I don't, that seems like a posing, trying to be like a music video pose for me. But yes, there is this evidence out there as well.
If I see that, I'm going to treat you like you have a handgun in your hand. I'm sorry.
No, of course. But you wouldn't print it on a Polaroid photo like this. You know what I'm saying? This to me is a Instagram acting pose. Is when I see that it's a picture of a.
Oh, they definitely posed for this. There's no doubt about that.
This is a posed picture.
Whether or not that's a gun, it may be or may not. It looks like a gun to me, so I don't know.
So I want to make sure I did resolve that as we were talking. And then we have some more questions. Giolo asks, put some handcuffs to his parents and wait for him to pop up. They only need to find a way to do, and so then no phone calls, no contacts, and sort of them between him with the burner phones, etc. Yeah, they're not going to do that, Giolo. I appreciate your support, but that makes no sense. But you tipped me off another one, and thank you for reminding me because it was on my list. Can they bug the house at this point? Is that something they're allowed to do? Are we allowed to know that? Do you want to reveal that? Like, as someone who's wanted and there's now this many eyes, are they allowed to get a warrant and put that? Or is that potentially we're not allowed to know? What are your thoughts on that?
They can get a warrant. If you can get, you can take anything you want to the judge, but ultimately the prosecutor and the judge have to be in agreement and sign off on it. So, I'll just leave it at that, Whether they do it or not, that's up to them and what they think. But, I don't think at this point you're going to get much further evidence from the Laundries themselves. I don't think this guy's reaching out to them in any way, shape, or form. And I do know some ways that they could do it without being detected, but I'm not going to discuss here. But I don't think he's doing that.
So, okay, so good. So I guess the other thing I would know if I'm on the run, don't talk in my house. Go to a campsite.
How about don't commit a crime?
Yeah, don't. That better answer. But there you go. Good to know and what I suspected. Ambra, thank you, Andy and John, for giving insight on all this. Also, if you ever need an extra hand for mods, I would be happy to help. Ambra, Will and Brittany and everybody in there, Jolene, they're the ones who keep the eyes for me, just because I can't even monitor. But just keep on helping and supporting the channel as you can, and they will keep an eye. And yeah, we probably need some more help, so I will be deferring to them to nominate, and we will dispute more wrenches because I see the chat's going crazy. But thank you for your support, and I've noticed you in there, Ambra, I like the name. Rachel Rackleff, are we sure that he didn't use that week he was home to create food caches in the wilderness? Why aren't we looking for food caches? I mean, I guess you could, right? You bought that money. You stole the money. She stole Gabby's money. We've confirmed that. The card he used was Gabby's. They said that on Dr. Phil. So he had couple $1,000 in cash. John, I mean, that's pretty instrumental. That cash could help him a lot, and then evading and buying things to keep him on the run longer, whether it's food.
Yeah, I can't believe so now those acts there show his foolishness and his, he's not as elaborate as people would think. Why would you use the victim's cards to go get cash from him. And that's actually what they have an outstanding warrant on him for right now. So anybody can pick him up, no matter where they find him at a gas station, in Alaska. They're going to pick him up and hold him for that. And, and then they're going to place the homicide charges on him.
There you go. So yeah, could he have food caches potentially? There's a lot of things he could have though. Again, you don't think he's in Florida, right? I wouldn't be in Florida. When I look at those reserves, I'm like the swampiness, the wildlife, the heat. I would get the hell out of Florida the first chance I got.
So you gotta figure out, is he by himself or is somebody helping him? So if it's a family member, somebody could, he could be hidden. He could be in somebody's house, and no one has said anything. But everybody believes, because of where the homicide occurred and what his habits and activity and his hobbies were, that he's out in the woods trying to live off the grid by himself. And that is possible. But you might find out, typically we find a homicide suspect, either somebody is helping them hide or they have taken somebody hostage to help hide them.
Okay, got it. So we have some more comments coming in. Do you think, so we got that one.
He's not at his parents' house.
He's not at the parents' house.
That's a joke.
Carol H, don't you think Brian has been hiding? No, we got that one. That was a repeat question. Thank you, Carol, though. We don't think he's not in the parents' house. There's so many people like, he's in the basement. He's in the flower bed. What about that theory?
Florida doesn't have basements, first of all.
It's
They
true.
would be full of water.
It's true.
Secondly,
what about this
FBI,
flower bed? Do you think they could be hiding something or burying something in this flower bed? The drones have been over there.
Yeah, I'll tell you what they're burying. They're planting some seeds for the plants that they're going to have to grow on, because they're not going to be able to go to the grocery store for much longer. Yeah, they're not hiding any evidence.
It's true. That's a very that's the most realistic answer of what they're doing there, is exactly growing some foods. They can not have to get fresh produce from the grocery store anymore. That is probably very valid. But I still don't like these guys a little bit. Thanks, John Andy. Even though
I don't either.
Thanks, John and Andy, for even though you switched sides on me with Dog. LOL. A little bit. Yeah, Dog. We talked about Dog. He's still out there doing the search. I mean, thoughts on Dog? You've talked about this before, but thoughts?
Listen, obviously there's publicity. That's what he's doing, and he's riding that wave. And I'm not saying that I blame the guy, but at the same time, people are calling him and giving him tips. I mean, I make it clear that I'm not looking for Brian. And people are emailing me and sending me messages with tips. I mean, I'm not the guy for that. So Dog is actually soliciting for that and following tips. So God bless him. You never know. One of his tips, he may fill in just one piece of the puzzle that the FBI needs to nail this guy. You don't know. Don't knock the guy. Let him do his thing.
Yeah, I'm with. I think it is. There's absolutely a marketing angle to Dog. You're kidding yourself if you don't think so, but that's what he does too. It keeps him on going to get more bounties and more relevant. Yeah. It's connecting. Marketing doesn't always mean you're doing the wrong thing.
He's made a name for himself, and he's riding it. So I'm not knocking him for it. Now, if I had a real tip on this case, that's not who I'd call the FBI.
Well, he's getting a lot of them, though, it seems, and that he did recently just say he sent some for DNA evidence out to him. As a PI, can you do a lot of that yourself?
Yeah, you can. You can.
So he doesn't need to talk to the FBI. He
doesn't need to, because let's just be real. The stuff that he's getting probably has nothing to do with the case. He's just good at running. Now, if he were to get something back from the lab that turned out to be something, he's going to give it to the FBI. He's not going to keep it. But just look at this for a moment. There is a percentage of the population that does not like police and law enforcement at all. And if they knew where Brian was hiding, they wouldn't call the police just because of it. But the fact that there's another guy out there that's a wild man, Dog the bounty hunter, and he's going to take the tip, they may call him. So you can't discount the fact that he may get a valid tip. So you got to take it for what it is. Well, it's not costing us taxpayers for Dog the bounty hunter to be out there. So what do you care?
True. I do like that. But Dog the bounty hunter is in charge of me. So there you go.
Me neither. I'm not sending him any money.
No. I don't know who's funding it. I don't know if he's getting money from the
media could be funding
Fox
him. He's
is
on the
embedded
media.
with him.
Yeah. They could be paying him for for appearances. You know that.
Okay. So let's see what else we have here. Little bit, we got that Mo. Thank you just for the support, Mo. And then Allison asked, he is wearing wired earbuds. He's too old. Oh my God, you are awesome, Detective Hubbard. There you go. That is something you notice. Only old people wear that. I guess I'm old. Little bit. Someone is streaming your channel now. Let's not give them any promotion. I don't. If they are, if someone else is streaming my channel right now. Why? Make your own content because that would help. I mean, I guess if you're reporting me as news, then well, thanks. I'm honored. You can subscribe on popcornplanet.com and watch our coverage instead because we're apparently another channel's bored of their own channel. So, hey, good to see you. Thanks for the plug. Chef Lady, thank you so much for the support. Aaron, no, what I meant was if the Laundries led the authorities to believe that Brian Laundrie went to this location and they stated they'd been there to look for him, isn't it possible they planted whatever evidence has allegedly been found today? Sorry for the miscommunication. Does that make sense to you?
Doubt it. It does, but so my answer is I doubt it. They're not going to make an elaborate thing where they're going to get themselves involved in an accessory after the fact of a homicide. That just doesn't make sense. I don't. So my answer is I don't believe so. I don't think that the parents planted anything out there whatsoever. I don't think so. No, because again, so let's find out where the tip come from. What sent law enforcement out there today? Where's that information? You know.
Yeah. Where is that information?
You're not going to get it. I'll tell you.
But they again planting evidence. They're planting something.
The FBI is going to tell the media what they want them to know, and everything else are going to keep quiet, as I would direct them to. We are all now part of the public sector. We all want to know what's going on, but in this case, it's none of our business what evidence they have against the perpetrator. It's not our business. That's just my opinion.
There you go. Brittany, what's up? Brittany asks, if there is surveillance from the neighbor, would that be sufficient evidence to charge the parents with harboring a fugitive? I mean, you've touched upon this too. Thanks, Brittany. But yeah, I mean, you think they already have plenty on the parents, and you do agree that the parents can get charged. It's just about the timing, right?
I do. I believe the parents will get charged. That's my opinion. You know, again, I'm not there. Sometimes, you know, if the parents were to flip somewhere in this, I'm just saying, if I were the detective on this case, and then they finally decided to come clean and give me Brian, I might have some kind of a proffered deal to not charge them. But I can tell you, dealing with the feds, even if you cooperate, I have a case that I had a guy cooperated with us completely, and it was in an attempt murder case, a pipe bomb. And my original suspect got 60-something years with a 30-year minimum mandatory. The guy that was the caller that gave us, I wired him up one night. I sent him out, got him drinking. I recorded the whole deal to prove the guy did it. That guy that cooperated, the feds gave him 20 years. So to cooperate with the feds, it's a big deal. So at this point, they would have to have some real tough cooperation to say, okay, we've been communicating with him through such and such an app, and this is where he's at, and let him go get him. Then they might have a chance. But outside of that, I don't see the parents, in my opinion, you know, walking out of this thing without needing that attorney they hired for a criminal defense charge.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what those charges are. And no, I mean, obviously that's why they got a lawyer, guys.
Well, you can start with obstruction, but when it comes to lying to the feds, it's totally different than lying to the local cops. Right. As you see, you know, in politics, they use it all the time whenever they want to. Both sides.
All right. Well, there you go. And they've been caught lying a lot. So, Anonymous, just agreeing with your guest, I've been wondering how she found the car at the reserve all along. Something fishy about that. Yeah, I don't get that part. It's very weird, right? The car. Oh, he went walking, and now we went and picked up the car. There's so many red flags to the parents, and that's why we're all so angry at them. And it's clear that's why they're being quiet. And we talked about this a little bit on our video yesterday, but with Cassie coming out, do you have any new thoughts on that? Do you share the same thing? Do you think you don't believe her, but do you believe her more than the parents?
She came out to save her own face and to get the protesters off her front yard. and give a little peace and quiet and less embarrassment to her and to her neighbors and friends. But I mean, she's already contradicted herself. So I mean, to me, a liar is a liar. So just don't come in and say, well, I'm telling the truth today. Okay, as opposed to, it's like when somebody says, well, to tell you the truth, as opposed to what? To not telling me the truth. So I mean, I just don't. I see things in black and white mostly, and so once you start lying to me, and then you want to come and try to convince me of another, that's what lawyers do. They want to. Well, here's another story that fits it better. Is that believable? Maybe they should be speech writers. I don't know, but I just don't buy into that. Once you start lying to me, I'm done.
Right. It's not good to keep lying, but usually liars do. Liars can't stop lying.
And they got to tell another story and another story.
Yeah,
oh, you found out that wasn't true. Okay, well here's another twist to it. Yeah. No, I don't buy it.
So why wasn't Megan Sue is asking, why wasn't he charged with stealing her car? I mean, I'm sure they could have.
He had permission to use it, probably.
I mean, after death, though, you don't.
No, well, then it gets to be implied they were fiancés. It was shared property. You start getting into common law marriage and stuff like that. I mean, you might even find that, so there's a lot more to it than just that. He had the keys. He had permission at one time. The fact that, listen, if he killed her, murder's the worst thing. So why don't they charge him with that? They charge him with anything if they get their hands on him. So all these other charges don't mean anything outside of murder. So let's get him first, and then let's talk about what we're going to charge him with.
Well said. Heather is asking, schizophrenics go back to places where they perceive things were better or to try and fix things. He literally told the guy what he was doing. I watched it all my life. Brian is on his way to where they were last together in that white truck.
Well, we would love for that to happen, because then guess what? He could either meet his maker that day or at least, surrender himself to whatever law enforcement is going to surround him. No, that's wishful thinking.
Yeah, I'm not buying that one, but Heather, appreciate your suggestion. Victoria Long Brown, thanks for all you do. How would dog have DNA to check against for Brian? He'd have to send it out, right? There are places he can do, but it's expensive,
so there's plenty of places that you can get DNA checked. Right here in Tampa, there's plenty of places.
But it's not cheap, is it?
Well, it's not as expensive as it used to be. It's nothing like that.
Huh.
So I mean, and again, somebody's supporting him. Somebody's.
But you have to check. You have to have a sample of Brian to do it, right?
Well, to find out if it's his. But there's a lot of things that are already in DNA, and I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to get into all that. But a lot of DNA, they start telling you whether it's a male, female. Usually the race and about the age. There's a lot of different things, components, and who's to say he doesn't have something from Brian already? You don't know that. None of us know that.
Right.
He could have taken stuff out of the garbage, trash pulls. He could have gotten something. Who knows what he's got? And I'm certainly not going to speak. He could have been to some cousin, someplace that he visited, and go, boom, been to a campsite that he was at last, and get it. So I don't know. I don't know what the dog is doing. I'm not on his team, and I'm not talking to him, but it's possible. And if he gets something that he believes is related to this case and for Brian, he's going to call the FBI. It's not like he can go put handcuffs on the guy and find him himself and think he's bounty hunting. It's not going to be like that.
Well, we got lots more to ask. I got a couple more coming in. I don't want to forget to clip this because I want to get a lot of those important issues we did in the first part of the show. So I'm going to trim it right here for the replay. If you guys if you missed the full show and you want to watch it, that's one of the perks of becoming a member here to support our coverage and our channel. Hit the join button and you can get all the replays, as well as we're going to be doing some members only exclusive streams and everything. I'm so grateful for all your support and everybody who stepped up and helped this channel. Thank you so much. You can find John, and don't go anywhere, live viewers. I'm not done yet, but you can find John over at Hubbard Investigations. If you need a private investigator, he's a busy man, but you can why isn't this loading now? You can find him there. Hubbard Investigations, is that what it is?
It is.
Hold on, I can't. There we go.
That is it. Yeah.
There we go. Now I got to
I
look.
say, you made me think somebody
hacked you. No, I was a typo. Hubbard Investigations is right there if you want to support him or hire him. You can. He's available and in the Florida area. Total pro. So just know you can find him there. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please consider hitting subscribe, hitting the bell for all alerts to get continued coverage on this case and more news. Really grateful for all you watching live. We're here live every weekday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Stay tuned, though, for more on the live feed. We got more to go through. Just want to clip this sake for YouTube. The replay is, again, always available for members in the members section on the homepage and in the community tab.